Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming tonight. Your presence here this evening indicates that you have a passion and commitment to the Keithley District Hospital. My role this evening is to enlighten you, the community, as to the financial position of the Keithley District Hospital. I will endeavour to explain our current financial position and our position looking forward. The strength of our financial position relies on the activity of patients seeing our doctors, patients being in hospital for overnight stays, and our aged care suite being in full tenancy. Many of you have seen the new Keithley District Medical Centre. This project was completed last December and cost just over $742,000. This was largely supported by a federal government grant of $500,000. In addition, $160,000 was borrowed from the Keith Wall Memorial Community Centre. $50,000 was used from our donation account to complete this project. Currently, each West Ward ratepayer is paying a levy to support this redevelopment, providing the majority of the funds we need to repay the Keith Wall Memorial Community Centre. The Tatiara Council will on forward approximately $30,000 per annum as collection of these fees. The first instalment came last October, and a further 4 payments will be received annually going forward. This new medical centre is outstanding and provides an environment to encourage visiting medical specialists and our resident doctors to offer greater health services to the community. Although it was never envisaged to generate large volumes of revenue, there is potential to rent the rooms and attract more specialists to the area. As a result of the state government budget cuts, there has been a decline in visiting medical specialists to inquire and take up long-term rental agreements within the medical centre. In December last year, we farewelled Dr. Amika, which left us with only one doctor in town. To his absolute credit, Dr. Dean has worked tirelessly and on call 24 hours, 7 days a week, for much of the time since Dr. Amika's departure. He is, however, only able to see a certain number of patients per day and unable to service our satellite clinics at Padthaway and Tintinara. So therefore, we can only bill the patients that he sees, and as a result, collect less revenue. Our costs remain the same with staffing and infrastructure, regardless of there being 1 or 2 doctors, although we have been able to reduce some staff hours since moving to Hender Street. There has been a significant reduction to our acute care, or our overnight stays, bed stay, decreasing from 6.6 patients per day last financial year down to an average of 4.2 patients per day year to date January this year. Of this figure, approximately 1 patient is admitted under the Country Health SA grant, and the remaining 3.2 patients continue to use their private health insurance. We sincerely thank those patients who continue to support the Keithley District Hospital by using their private health insurance to cover their stay. However, last financial year we averaged 5.5 people per night using their private health insurance. At 5.5 patients per night, our income enables us to trade profitably, whereas a drop to 2 or less patients per night means our revenue falls below the amount needed to maintain our service. Once again, if we have no patients in overnight or 7 patients in, our fixed costs remain virtually the same. These costs being staffing, capital and operational costs. As a community, we have supported the Accident Emergency Department to be open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. To staff this facility requires a certain level of nursing staff to be at the hospital at all times. Understandably, the Accident Emergency Department is not required at all times, but the nurses are still required to be available on site if an emergency should arise. Currently, we have funded $663,000 from Country Health SA to provide publicly funded acute care beds and the Accident and Emergency Department. This means if you do not have private health insurance, we will not turn you away at the door and deny you health care. We will place you in a bed and give you professional health care. Also, this means when a patient presents at the Accident Emergency Department, we have the ability to care for them also. Remember, many presentations are from people not in our community. The travelling public who have had an accident or feel unwell or unable to manage their health issues also present through Accident Emergency. It is this funding that is reducing to $300,000 in July. Our current services we provide include a residential aged care facility with 18 beds for our community members. This is a pivotal service that the Keithley District Hospital provides to those who are unable to support themselves independently at home. This is their home, and we provide support for them to live as comfortably as possible alongside their family and friends in their community. We offer a sanctuary of stability and reassurance. It is known as living tenure, meaning that once a resident joins our care facility, they are able to age in place, including that there will be no requirement for them to move from this facility until they pass away or choose to change facilities. There are several ways in which we collect revenue from our aged care residents. Predominantly, funding is through the Commonwealth Government under a system known as ACFI, or a Aged Care Funding Instrument. An assessment is completed on the patient, and depending on the complexity of the care required for each patient, a fee is paid to provide the service. When we refer to Commonwealth or federal funding, it is the collection of these fees we are referring to. We're currently reviewing our ACFI funding to ensure that we receive the maximum that we are entitled to. Each patient is also required to pay a daily care fee, which is set by the government regulations at 84% of the age pension. Other funding is by way of accommodation bonds. When a resident who is classified low care joins our facility, a bond can be collected. This bond is usually different for each resident as it is means tested, i.e. it's based on their ability to pay, and we hold this money in trust for that resident. These bonds may be tens of thousands of dollars. Residential bonds provide us with two streams of income. Firstly, a monthly bond retention amount that is set by government regulations at the time the resident enters the facility. We collect this amount for up to 60 months or until the resident leaves our facility, whatever is the shorter period. Secondly, we invest this money, and under the Aged Care Act, we're entitled to retain 100% of the income from this investment. When the resident passes away or leaves our facility, we are required to pay to the estate or patient the balance of their bond money. We use these retained bond money for capital improvement in our aged care facility as per the Aged Care Act of 1997. We have several residents in our care who have paid substantial bonds to be with us. The Board of Management has expressed an opinion that it will not enter into an agreement whereby we put these funds at risk or act in a manner against the Aged Care Act. There are also accommodation charges. Again, these charges are means tested for new residents who are classified as high care residents. For residents that do not have the means to pay a bond or an accommodation charge, additional fees are received from the federal government. There are also some slight variations, such as Department of Veteran Affairs and private health insurance patients, that have slightly different collection methods, but fundamentally it is as stated. At the moment, we only have 14 residents. Prior to the funding cuts announcement in September last year, we had 18 residents and a waiting list. It is of no small consequence that families looking to place a resident with us are questioning whether they will proceed with it, knowing that our hospital is in a tenuous situation. As a result, we are not collecting daily care fees or Commonwealth funding for those vacant 4 beds. For each vacant bed that we can fill, we can earn approximately an extra $5,000 per month. As stated previously, the overhead costs of managing those 14 residents is not significantly different to the costs in providing a full facility for 18 residents. Our previous finance manager alluded to the board several years ago that our staff entitlements were not fully provisioned. These are the entitlements that our nursing and ancillary staff are entitled to, being annual long service leave. It was a decision to ensure that our leave entitlement liability was fully funded by cash, held in a separate investment account. The Board of Management has stipulated that this is a requirement, and to the best of our ability, this shortfall has nearly been covered. It is not necessarily illegal to use these funds for operational expenditure. However, we feel that it is morally and ethically wrong and do not have any intention of using these funds for any other purpose than to pay our staff their full entitlements. At the Keithing District Hospital, we have a very efficient way of managing our services and business. All of our staff work across our acute care, residential aged care and emergency care departments. We have economy of scale and output from all of our nursing and ancillary staff. The operational costs are also shared across departments. This is why the state government cuts affect our operations. We believe that we're offering the range of services the community expects and relies upon. We also believe that we deliver these services in the most cost-effective manner. As we've highlighted, there is a basic level of staffing and overheads required to facilitate the hospital, irrespective of the activity. The greater the activity, the greater the revenue, and hence, when we're running with more inpatients and aged care residents, we're able to operate with more financial security. Health is an aspect that has exponential rising costs. The cost to deliver health increases at approximately 9% per annum. The ability of our hospital to keep up with this rising cost of deliverance has been and will continue to be an ongoing issue for the Board of Management. The Board of Management went to the State Government in July last year requesting an additional $200,000 of funding for this year. This request was denied. As we had a strong understanding of our business, it was agreed to sell the Bennett Street property and inject the funds into funding our operational expenditure and ensuring that we were fully provisioned for annual and long service leave. After an exhaustive marketing process, this property remains on the market. The Board of Management is now seeking commercial borrowings of up to $160,000 against this property to ensure that our leave entitlements are fully provisioned and to provide continuing operational expenditure. The budgets over the past few years have been adopted with very lean allocations to repairs and maintenance and low upgrades in medical equipment and technology. We've been doing a bare minimum in these areas. The time has come when significant money needs to be put back into an ageing building and our medical equipment in some areas needs updating to ensure we can continue to deliver medical procedures appropriate for the 21st century. When all I've said tonight is collated, the following can be summarised. Currently trading $38,000 worse than our predicted budget for this time of the year. However, as we budgeted for the sale of the Bennett Street house, and as that hasn't happened, we are over $200,000 behind. Currently, we're operating $28,000 in deficit per month and compounding. At the rate of activity and cash revenue, Keithing District Hospital will be unable to trade beyond April 2011. The Board of Management will not allow the hospital to trade whilst insolvent. The Chairman of the Board, James De Barry, has mentioned all the activity the Board is or will undertake to ensure that the Keithing District Hospital is appropriately funded by government bodies, whether this is state or federal. As members of the community, it is time for you to make some decisions as to the direction that the Keithing District Hospital follows. We obviously have a cash flow crisis that can only be solved with an injection of cash. At the moment, the Keithing District Hospital requires a minimum of $28,000 per month until July. After July 1st, this figure rises to $47,500 per month. This is a requirement of the hospital to continue to be liquid until another alternative solution can be reached. This is not a position the Board has come to without much deliberation, debate and constructive argument. We ask you, the community, to weigh up your options about your hospital. Do you want to support the hospital with your own funds until appropriate resolution can be made with the state or federal governments? This is not a decision to be taken in jest or lightly. It is a serious scenario which requires you all to complete your own due diligence of the process. It is a decision you have to be comfortable with and have faith in. At this stage, we have no firm indication of when or if a suitable resolution can be found. There is no timeline for which a commitment is to be made. Ultimately, the choice is yours. If you believe in the necessity and absolute importance that the Keithing District is served with a hospital that provides accident and emergency care 24 hours a day and an aged care residential facility, acute care beds and the support of doctors in Keith, then we, the Board of Management, ask you to support the facility until a resolution can be found. How can you help? We remind anyone who may have an interest in purchasing the Bennett Street property that this home is on the market and we are looking for genuine offers. This is a community asset, so we will continue to seek the best and most appropriate offer for this property. Currently, this property is tenanted for a 12-month term. Maybe you may like to form a syndicate to jointly own this residence with others. Tonight, you'll also see a form titled Save Our Hospital. How can you help with the pledge? This is a pledge form that you can choose to say to what extent you choose to support the Keith Hospital. There are several ways in which you may choose to donate. This may be in the form of an upfront lump sum or a periodical payment over some time. You may choose to seek corporate or company donations. You may wish to seek people from outside your community to assist. This is a public form, and the further it is spread, the better. And all donations over $2 are fully tax deductible. Over the next 2 weeks, we will collate these forms. Among these forms, although these forms are not binding, they're an indication of how we can assess our community support. We ask that they are filled out as accurately as possible with a clear conscience and a clear understanding of your promise. If it is deemed that the hospital has enough generous support from the community, then we will continue to offer health services at the hospital. At all times, we need an assurance of a minimum of 6 weeks trading ahead of us to remain fully solvent. This will be ongoing and constantly revised. We will not be asking for funds tonight. We will wait until our second public meeting on the 16th of March, when we can deliver back to you, the community, the outcome of these pledge forms. As a community, you can then instruct the fulfilment of these promises. So I repeat, we'll be not looking for funds tonight, but holding off until after that March 16 meeting. This is by no means a decision the board has reached lightly or willingly. In the best possible terms, it's the last resort we have. The board continues to seek alternative arrangements unless instructed otherwise by the community. We believe it is possible to find alternative funding. We ask you tonight, do you believe it is also? I thank you very much for your understanding and again your support in being here tonight. It is a message my conscience has struggled to deliver, but one I know has the support of the board. We're asking you to ask as many questions you have to the board, and any decision you reach, you make on your own judgment. Thank you.